Megacast, I'm Tyler Kieft, welcoming you to our live, local, 5 days a week TV, radio, and streaming show looking into all things Michigan. Today, we'll be talking about a whole host of fun and interesting stuff, as well as important news stories right here in the Great Lakes State. Let's get into today's headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page. Our top story comes from the Detroit Free Press's Arpon Lobo, as absentee ballots in Michigan are now available to voters for this November's general election. Registered voters may apply for absentee ballots with their local clerks, but also can apply online with the Secretary of State's office by printing the application and returning it to their local clerk by email, by mail, email, or in person. That's michigan.gov/vote to get that information and get that application from the Secretary of State's office. In a news release, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, made a statement on absentee ballots stating, quote, "Every successful election we have held in Michigan over the last 3 years, voters have made it clear they want options for how and when to cast their ballot by choosing to do so absentee in record numbers. No matter what secure method they choose, whether by voting by mail, local drop box, or at their clerk's office, Michiganders can be confident that their vote will be counted and their voice will be heard," and closed quote. Again, that's michigan.gov/vote, or you can contact your local clerk's office for more information on absentee ballots and absentee voting by mail, where you can drop off your ballots in your local community. And of course, information that's important to you as voters for Election Day, whether you're voting in the polls or voting by mail, by absentee ballot. Additionally, making headlines on civiccentertv.com on our local news page today from the Detroit News' Karen Buford. Grand Rapids Aseptic Manufacturing is set to join Copenhagen's Bavarian Nordic as a supplier of the monkeypox vaccine. The Michigan company reached an agreement with the Danish company to help bolster their output of the Jynneos vaccine, hopefully increasing the supply worldwide, including in Michigan, where currently there are 165 cases of monkeypox statewide. Local advocates in our area have been very positive in their reaction to the news, including Oakland County Monkeypox Task Force member and the Director of Affirmations located in Ferndale, Dave Garcia, who stated, quote, "Right now we need to spread out the vaccine supply that we have and then hope that the cavalry is coming, meaning millions more doses. We field dozens of calls every day about monkeypox. We have had 3 vaccination clinics at Affirmations to date. Every one of those has run out of vaccine," and closed quote. So good news out of the west side of the state, some more manufacturing of monkeypox vaccine going to be happening right here in the state of Michigan, and hopefully will help worldwide distribution of that as cases of monkeypox continue to spread worldwide. Not necessarily any cause for panic, but affecting certain communities, especially those in the LGBTQ plus community, being more at risk than others in our local area. That's why it's good to hear that this will be so helpful to them right here in the state of Michigan, especially our local organizations like Affirmations, which is an LGBTQ plus advocacy organization. Finally, making headlines today on civiccentertv.com on our local news page. That's also from the Detroit News, this time from reporter Haley Harding. One of Michigan's premier tourist locations is already more accessible than ever. A 142-foot bridge was installed last September at Tahquamenon Falls amid controversy that it would hurt tourism and actually be of detriment to the park experience. The bridge connecting the mainland of the park to a nearby 7-acre island is the only connection to that island sans a rowboat, making it actually easier to access and allowing more visitors to see that side of the park. Only positive reaction so far in the 1 year roughly that bridge has been in place at the Tahquamenon Falls. In fact, park manager Kevin Dennis says, despite initial reservations, the outcome of last year's decision has been very positive for the park experience overall. Quote, "I think some folks maybe thought it was going to be out more in the open view and an eyesore and all these things, but it's not. It's been received overwhelmingly positive. I haven't heard a single bad comment." So only getting better at Tahquamenon Falls, more accessibility to certain parts of the park, and for those that may not have been able to otherwise access that side of the park, it makes it easier for them to even be able to experience that 7-acre island. For some people that may not be able to get into a rowboat or in and out of a rowboat safely. So overall, just a great experience there. Good news from up north in the Upper Peninsula at Tequamanon Falls. You can read that full article from Haley Harding of the Detroit News, as well as all of those headlines on our website at civiccentertv.com on our local news page, and find also on that page accurate and up-to-date information on COVID-19 with links to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 specific web pages. We have a great program ahead on this Monday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we'll talk about all the wonderful history and fun that you can experience this fall and beyond at the Detroit Historical Museum with Rebecca Salminen-Witt. This is the Megacast.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Let's whoop it up for these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations that you can enjoy watching us live and on demand TV, radio, and streaming, including My Michigan TV, by visiting civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Our first guest on today's edition of the Megacast joining us now is Rebecca Salminen-Witt, Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at the Detroit Historical Museum. Rebecca, thanks for being with us today.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate having you on. So we're in the waning days of August, but there's still plenty of time for our educators, now that they're back in school, to relax a little bit, learn something themselves, and head on down to the Detroit Historical Museum while we're still in a Teacher Appreciation Month with free admission for any school personnel. Can you tell us about that and what experiences they can have at the Detroit Historical Museum as August comes to a close?
Absolutely. Well, we've had a really great time with all of our school folks all month. So started right off bright and early, August 1st, opening both museums, so the Detroit Historical Museum and the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. Free admission for any school personnel with a ID. So it doesn't matter if you are a teacher, superintendent, or the lunch lady. We want y'all to come in.
Experiencing some technical issues. It appears we have lost Rebecca. So here's what we'll do. We'll take a break. We'll come right back. We'll try to get reconnected with her and continue on. This is the Megacast.
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. Of course, you can learn everything about the program, about our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show by visiting civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Find us in your local area or watch us live on civiccentertv.com. You'll also find information on our Megacast page about our entire network, including My Michigan TV, so you can watch us on your smartphone, on your smart TV, and on the web at mymytv.com. Our co-flagship on each edition of the Megacast. There's plenty of history to explore this fall and all throughout the year down in the Detroit Historical Museum. Joining us now from the Detroit Historical Museum is Rebecca Salminen-Witt, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum. Rebecca, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. We're in the waning days of Teacher Appreciation Month in August, but there's still an ongoing promotion at the Detroit Historical Museum and the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, allowing our educators, those in the classroom and outside the classroom in an educational environment, to get a great experience at these two museums and do some learning themselves outside of the school.
Yeah, you know what? We've been celebrating all August with our Teacher Appreciation Month, but really that's for anybody with a school ID. So whether you're the superintendent or the lunch lady, we want you to come on down to our museums and get a feel for what we've been doing, what we've been up to over the summer, and hopefully maybe pique your interest to bring your school kids back during the school year. School tours are a big deal for us, and we were just thrilled last year that we were able to start having those young voices back in our museum. So that was really fun for us. And we thought we would offer a free month for all of our educators this summer just to get them back in the mood of coming for a great school tour with their classrooms.
Yeah, let's talk about that too, because just in time for school, you are reopening for the first time in 3 years. Your primary exhibit for school kids. Can you tell us about that exhibit, what it's been in the past, and what the Detroit Historical Museum has done now bringing it back after almost 3 years of it being absent due to COVID?
Yeah, you know what? We closed the Frontiers to Factories exhibit right around the time of COVID. And that's the exhibit that's correlated to our school standards for 3rd and 4th graders. So it's all that great Michigan history for the last few hundred years. And it needed an update. We hadn't updated that exhibit for 25 years. And so it was planned to close it down to do an update. And then COVID hit. And so it ended up being closed a whole lot longer than we intended. It's reopening for this school year. It's been renamed. It's now called Origins, Life Where the River Bends, which is it harkens to the name that the First Peoples called this area of our state before the settlers, European settlers, ever arrived. So we're really excited about the name change, about the upgrades. Students will find more technology in the exhibit, a greater breadth of storytelling in the exhibit. So we reach a little bit farther back before even frontier times to tell those stories in the exhibit now. And this is just the first taste. So we're going to be continuing to update that exhibit over the next few years.
We're joined by Rebecca Salminen-Witt. She is the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum, joining us today on the Megacast. We have a holiday coming up, Labor Day, just a week away, and that's a day where a lot of people take the day off. Of course, school is off for the day, but that doesn't mean that learning doesn't have to happen on Labor Day for families that want to go down to the Detroit Historical Museum or the Dawson Great Lakes Museum and have a learning experience with their family. Tell us about your Labor Day hours and some special things going on this holiday.
Well, we're really excited because usually Labor Day, the museums are closed. And this year, the Dawson Great Lakes Museum is going to be open to visitors with special holiday hours. So from 1 to 5 on Labor Day, you're going to be able to visit the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, and it's free for everybody. So we've got a really great exhibit in there right now. It's been in there since this winter. It's called Maritime Miniatures, and it's the art of the ship model. And so we've filled that museum with 150 of our ship models of Great Lakes ships. So folks will be able to come in, see the ship models. And I'm telling you, that has been such an exciting and really popular exhibit with folks that we've extended it. So we wanted to extend the exhibit, but we also wanted to make it free. So as many people as possible could come and enjoy the Dawson Great Lakes Museum on Labor Day.
One of the absolute favorites of history lovers in the state of Michigan are those car lovers. And while the Woodward Dream Cruise is in our rearview mirror at this point, that doesn't mean the love of cars, of classic cars and motor vehicle history here in Michigan is over. There's actually a fun event coming up in September through your organization for all those car lovers out there. Tell us about that event.
You know, I'll tell you what, we have our Motor City, America's Motor City exhibit is really a favorite of car lovers because it talks about the place that the automotive industry played in the history of Detroit. And it's just a really fun, it's a beautiful exhibit. So that's one of our permanent exhibits. You can come and see that all year round. But September, as a lot of folks knows, we've got a couple of big other car things happen. One of them is the Concourse Elegance, and it's happening right across the street from the Detroit Historical Museum at the Detroit Institute of Arts. And we just thought, man, with 4,000 or 5,000 car lovers over there, we know that we've got an audience of folks, we know what they love, and we really wanted to bring out a few special items from our collection. Detroit Historical Society has a collection of about 300,000 artifacts. Now, obviously, not all of those are cars, but we do have 70 or 80 really special vehicles that kind of give you the real slice of Detroit life. So our car collection is that's a real Detroiters car collection. What you're going to see at the Concourse, really big fancy cars, but not something that you or me or our mom back in 1980 might have been driving. That's what's in our car collection. So we're going to pull out a couple of those things, put those on display. But we're also going to work with some of the local car clubs in the area and bring out a really fun car show of 50s and 60s cars. We'll probably have some music on site. There'll be some food trucks on site, just a really fun family day. So if you're coming out to the Concourse, make sure you stop across the street at the Historical Museum. If you're not coming into the Concourse, come to our museum and get a real slice of Detroit car history, because we've really got it all on display there. It's another day. It's going to be free for anybody who wants to come and absorb some of those awesome cars in our parking lots.
We're joined by Rebecca Salminen-Witt, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. More information can be found on DetroitHistorical.org. That is DetroitHistorical.org for information on programs now and upcoming in the future, and to find all the info you need on both the Detroit Historical Museum as well as the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. DetroitHistorical.org. And upcoming in October, you have a really great new exhibit that's going to be opening at the Detroit Historical Museum, kind of giving some recognition to people that aren't going and getting recognized quite for their due contributions to our local area. You're going to have a new program called The Hustle, a celebration of Detroit's unsung entrepreneurs. Tell us about this program, when it begins, and why this now?
Well, you know what? So at the Historical Society, one of our main things is to get more people in the museum on a consistent basis. So we're constantly looking for groups of folks who might not always come and see us, and trying to put stuff in the museum that's going to make your visitors and all the visitors from around this region really want to come to our museum. And one of the ways to do that, we really know, is to put stuff in the museum that speaks to their personal experience. So a couple of years ago, we had this idea, and actually it was one of our trustees' idea. We have this great guy, Mark Bland. He's a trustee for us, works in the automotive industry, and he had this idea to dig down deep into the history of Detroit's neighborhoods. Find people who have kind of those entrepreneurs who make the neighborhoods run, right? So we're not talking about folks who own the big fancy companies that we all hear about, though, you know, the Dan Gilbert level of entrepreneurs, who certainly is a star in our community. But we're talking about those folks who might want to be a Dan Gilbert one day, who just, you know, they're down there, they've got their side hustle, they're figuring out a way to make ends meet, using their entrepreneurial skills. And, you know, these are your plumbers, your hairdressers, your barbers, you know, the DJs that we all know. And so we started this program really to celebrate them, to make sure that they got their time to shine in a museum exhibit. And that project kicked off actually in April with a series of nominations. We got 800 nominations in. So this really great dynamic group of entrepreneurs, and we selected 36 of them that will be featured in a quarterly series of exhibits, and the very first one of those will be on October 8th. So we're just really excited about the program. It's going to be this program is going to involve public programming, some school programs. There's a bunch of celebrations, there are open houses, and this really amazing quarterly series of exhibits, again starting off October 8th, but then quarterly for a whole year. So the hustle is going to go all the way through the end of 2023. Lots of opportunities for your folks to come down to the museum and get a real slice of entrepreneurial life in Detroit.
All that information, DetroitHistorical.org is their website. Find out info on this program, The Hustle, a celebration of Detroit's unsung entrepreneurs, and other programs happening at the Detroit Historical Museum, as well as the Dawson Great Lakes Museum. We're joined by Rebecca Salminen-Witt, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Detroit Historical Museum. Rebecca, another minute or so before we'll let you go today. Anything else we should be keeping an eye out for in the near future from the Detroit Historical Museum?
Well, you know, one more free day to tell folks about. September 11th this year is National Grandparents' Day. So we've planned some special stuff in both of our museums. We'd love to have grandparents and their grandkids come on in. Again, that's going to be a free afternoon. That's a Sunday, so 1 to 5 open. And we've got coloring and some tours planned and just a whole bunch of really fun things for grandparents and their grandkids. So I hope we'll see a bunch of folks on September 11th as well.
Rebecca, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All those programs, and to see what's coming up, visit DetroitHistorical.org. DetroitHistorical.org. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, we'll continue on with our program today. We'll talk about combating violence in our communities, particularly in our cities. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can learn more about the program by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, our co-flagship, where you can download their free app for your smartphone and your smart TV. Learn more information on all the different app stores that you can download the free My Michigan TV app at mymytv.com, mymitv.com, to learn more about My Michigan TV, or as we call it, My. Joining us now on the Megacast is Alia Harvey Quinn, the director of Force Detroit, with us once again on the program. Alia, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So, of course, we've heard so much in recent times about gun violence in the United States, and especially we know about that being an issue in Detroit, here in Michigan, and other cities throughout our region. Your organization works very pointedly at addressing this issue at the community level, at the grassroots level. Can you tell us, for those that aren't familiar with the work of Force Detroit, give us a summary of what your organization does to combat gun violence?
Yeah, so our mission is really around creating a freer and safer Detroit. We connect directly impacted people, folks who are impacted by the criminal justice system, by violence, and by poverty, to opportunities to make justice-centered solutions and programmatic change as far as policy and programs.
And so, as you're addressing these issues, as you're doing so at the grassroots level with people in these communities that are being affected by some of these mass shootings and these gun violence occurrences, in our modern age, how much of a factor does social media play in those interventions at the community level?
Yeah, I mean, social media is a huge factor, and various forms of social media that you wouldn't expect. So people are now creating what is called drill music, which sort of documents tensions between two individuals or groups. And they're sharing those tensions. They're sharing their disdain for each other. And in extreme versions of these videos, they're sharing sort of their intent to physically harm each other. And then they're carrying those acts out in real life. And so you see these on YouTube, TikTok, and people's stories. It is difficult. So it's really, really important to monitor the social media of the community that we're engaged in so that we can notate escalating conflict as it develops. But it's also really important to counter some of this culture with joy, and joyful acts that are unanticipated and brighten up our timeline so that they're not sort of gory and re-traumatizing our entire community.
And so when you have these messages that are going out over social media, these TikTok videos, these YouTube videos, these other postings on people's social media stories and so on, as you mentioned, how does your organization then take that into the intervention standpoint to have those important conversations, those mediary conversations that you often have in an attempt to mitigate the situation either after the fact or prevent the issue from coming to blows altogether?
Yeah, social media can be incredibly useful in that because a lot of times what we're negotiating is he said, she said interactions, whereas social media gives you something concrete. Like it, concretizes like this is the back and forth. This is what you did to escalate it. This is what the other party did to escalate it. So in terms of disruption, it can be incredibly useful. It is just equally harmful, and it creates a broader audience that potentially also escalates the incident additionally.
We're joined by Alia Harvey Quinn, who is the director of Force Detroit, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find more information on the organization and help them at forcedetroit.org. That's forcedetroit.org. Recently, the Whitmer administration for the 2022-2023 budget added $4.5 million to address gun violence at the state level. In less than 3 months, Detroit has been the site of at least 5 mass shootings. Your organization was one of many that had received some state funding for community violence interruption. How does that funding from the state level help your organization further to address these issues as you're addressing them most commonly at the grassroots level? But that money can go a long way to helping intervention organizations like yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy you asked that question. We have a big vision for creating community violence intervention organizations and supporting those that already exist across the city. And so we are really asking for $150 million over 10 years to incubate this nonprofit landscape within the city of Detroit. What happens is if you begin to transform deeply young people or people involved in active cycles of violence on one side of town in one neighborhood, and you don't invest that same amount of energy in the other neighborhoods, then you leave community is sort of lopsided, and these communities are often in conflict with each other. And so you're teaching one set of people peace without teaching their opponents peace. This potentially gets them killed, right? And so we need to think about how we can truly scale this up across the city so that as we're building strengths in the red zone, in the Cody Rouge area, we're also building strengths along the Davison corridor, on Puritan and Schaefer, in East English Village. So that people are, so that Detroit truly becomes whole in the long run.
ForceDetroit.org is their website for more information and ways that you can get involved in helping them prevent violence in the Detroit area. We're joined by Alia Harvey Quinn on the Megacast. She is the director of Force Detroit and joins us on today's program. And Alia, it's interesting that you bring up those mediary, those one-on-one kind of conversations between these two different parties often, or these multiple parties that are involved in some of this violence. For you and for your organization, as you're having those conversations, as you're going back and forth with whatever side of whatever argument may be ongoing, what often is that difference maker that kind of becomes that turning point in these conversations. That's the difference between an eruption of violence and maybe everybody kind of taking a step back and cooling down a little bit before they react to these situations.
Yeah, so I've learned from my team members, folks like, DeJuan Kennedy and Skrill, that the difference is also often something small and human, like the fact that they really want to be a father, or we really got goals of going to school and becoming something better than what I am. So like the deeper the relationship, the more you can leverage something that is truly human, appeal to that, and inspire people to be a better version of themselves, and then use the resources that we've gathered to help them take at least one step along that path. Like usually if you just allow a person to be human with you, you will find out that they have children. They're concerned about their parents. They don't want their parents to be caught up in these cycles of violence, right? They don't want their family's houses shot up. They have aspirations that they haven't yet reached. So really, it depends on the relationship that you are able to build with the individuals, how deeply you can appeal to that higher part of them.
It's interesting, and it's really just remarkable that some of these just basic human connections can be the catalyst that pulls people back from the red line and from acting on some of these arguments in a violent manner. Do you find that in some cases that these interventions, that these human connections that you're finding to kind of tamper down the violence in these situations can actually end up forming new bonds between these groups in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you see all over the country and what's been documented in the research is that oftentimes people haven't had an opportunity to build a relationship with the group that they consider the opponent group. And they end up in a situation where they are building a relationship with them because they're attached to the same community violence intervention organization. And they may respect that individual and their principle, how they show up, the human parts of them, their leadership skills, more than they respect some of the people that they're in deeper long-term relationships with. So absolutely, friendships are created, new relationships, new bonds. But it's also about inspiring the person to become a better version of themselves, a higher version of themselves, to remember what they aspired to in their childhood, letting that shine through, and then people creating new connections based on that newly expressed beauty.
You can find more information on Force Detroit and join them in taking action against violence in Detroit by visiting forcedetroit.org. We're joined by Alia Harvey Quinn, the director of Force Detroit on the Megacast. Alia, just another minute or so with you before we need to say goodbye today. Anything else that you'd like to say about Force Detroit and your work that we haven't discussed today, or any messages for those out there in Detroit and in the local area on violence in their communities and ways that they can kind of get themselves back from that point of erupting into a full-scale conflict?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry about that. I think very, very importantly, we need to create mutual aid connections in our communities. We need to be in conversations with our neighbors, exchanging phone numbers, watching each other come and go, and just paying attention. Yesterday, there was an active shooter in my neighborhood and actually on my block. And I found that I got the information early because the folks at the city who manage this work know to call, certain activists and organizations. And I didn't have enough of my neighbors' information, like phone numbers, to communicate that they needed to be safe, they needed to stay in, they needed to. So it's very, very important that we are connecting with our neighbors and looking out for each other's well-being.
Well, Leah, we appreciate the work that you're doing, and thank you for all the interventions that you're making in Detroit to help these individuals and these groups come to some form of peace and form a greater community in their community. Appreciate it, Aaliyah.
Thank you so much. It was good talking to you. You have a good day.
Thank you. You as well. ForceDetroit.org for more information and to get involved with Aaliyah and her organization. ForceDetroit.org. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about a really exciting experience in Detroit. We'll speak with Detroit Dye House's founder and co-owner Tammy Stemas next on the Megacast.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Located in Corktown, a really fun experience that you can have with tie-dye in Detroit. We're joined by Tammy Stemas, founder and co-owner of Brightly Twisted at the Detroit Dye House located in Corktown. Tammy, thanks for being with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me.
Appreciate having you on. First off, tell us about Brightly Twisted and the Detroit Dye House and some of the experiences people can have right there in Corktown.
Sure. Yeah, no, we've been there almost 4 years. We make tie-dye ourselves. We've been making it for about 20 years. Selling it to stores around the country. 4 years ago, right before the pandemic, we thought we'd open our doors and invite everyone in. And we named that store the Detroit Dye House. And that's because we do wholesale dyeing out of there. We do experiences and we make our own tie-dye there. So it's a really fun place to be. Classes are from Wednesday to Sunday. We see a lot of families, a lot of girls' nights out, a bunch of guys coming in. Families is a big deal. And then corporate classes and private events have been way bigger than we all expected. And I think with the pandemic kind of on its lull and passing, people are pretty excited to get to know each other again. And the classes provide that. It's really fun. People bring in their cocktails and then we just make some tie-dye and it's magical in there.
There's so many businesses, especially businesses that began around March of 2020 or in the months just before that, so many of them that are still around, but maybe are really struggling to hang on, or those that did not survive the pandemic said, well, we had a great idea. We were going strong. And then COVID-19 kind of just derailed everything. For your business, not only did you survive, you kind of thrived in the situation of the pandemic. Can you tell us how you pulled that off?
I think sometimes I think it's luck. I think sometimes we've been doing it for 15 years before the pandemic. So we had people online that when we had to jump online, we had some great followers that just, I would say, single-handedly kept us in business. We took that time to be really creative a little bit, and we expanded our dye classes so that when we did open, we'd be ready, to kind of jump in. We changed it from a one single class to it's more like a restaurant right now. You walk in and if it's you and a friend, you sit down and the two of you have your own table. There might be 4 other places, but it kind of spread us all out. And then the experience became a little more intimate. We liked it more. So that's how we've continued it.
So you
the
mentioned
pivot, I guess, to answer your question, we pivoted. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier some of your classes include corporate dye classes. For many businesses, they're bringing in a lot of new staff. They've had a lot of staff turnover. They want to continue to have some sort of cohesion or chemistry among their employee base. And these kinds of activities are great for kind of establishing that or bolstering that. Take us through one of your corporate dye classes and some of those experiences that small groups like this can have at the Detroit Dye House.
Yeah, we've had as small classes as 6 people who work together or even work remotely, and they're getting together for the first time, some of them in 3 years. So it's been a pretty happy place. It's like a reunion place. But typically they come in, we've had as many as 40 people in the building, and we change that around to it reminds me of maybe a roaming cocktail party where there are stations of tie-dye, and the group is moving around doing 4 or 5 different types of ties and binds in different colors. There's a lot of laughing, a lot of people joining each other, helping each other. It's such a creative space too that every once in a while, almost always, and even a big class, it'll get really quiet for a few minutes, and you look down and everybody's so into their piece. Everyone's kind of forgotten everyone's around and they're just doing their own thing. So it provides both, a real social atmosphere, but you get kind of locked in your own world for a little while and you chill out, and it's noticeable. Everyone leaves a heck of a lot happier after making tie-dye.
So for you, you mentioned that you had been doing tie-dye for about 15 years before you opened this business, and really for 20 years in total. What about tie-dye drew you to it as something that you're interested in, and later on something that you turned into a business?
Well, it's kind of started as a romantic story. I fell in love with my husband, and he made tie-dye. So he's been making it almost 26 years. I was just super interested in how well everything was selling and how many people loved the way he made tie-dye that I jumped in for business purposes. It wasn't long though, maybe a year later, I started making tie-dye with them, and I fell in love with it. I kind of thought it was my thing. And then since I've opened the classes, I'm noticing it's a lot of people's things. Making color and getting wrapped up into art has definitely changed my life. I didn't ever expect to make tie-dye. But that's how I got involved. Greg has a natural innate talent in color, and that's what he's all taught us. Every way we've made it, it kind of started with his way. And then he's super creative. He lets all of us just morph our own taste into each piece, which we all just feed off of each other. So while it's pretty competitive in the back of the dye room, most of the time it's everyone elevating each new level of what we can experiment with. We make everything one of a kind. And we've played in the fashion world that way, which is somewhat challenging. But that's what we're known for. It's just making all these great one-offs.
So for so many people engaging in something like this, that's artistic, that's creative, that's something that they can tangibly see that they created and keep with them for so long and kind of have as a utility in their life, it is really interesting. It can be kind of therapeutic in the process too. Can you tell us about some of those therapeutic benefits of making tie-dye and going through that process that's very fun, very creative, has a million different outcomes, but is also very focused?
Wow, you described it really well, but I get to see it. So it's while there's lots of research. You already know, you have experience, I can tell by the way you're talking about it, where you know art is very therapeutic. Obviously, there's the field of art therapy, but watching it and watching people come in and how they experience color, from my own experience as well, is it kind of jolts you. Color is arresting. You know, you start seeing it come out in the bottles, and whatever you're thinking, you kind of can't think anymore. You have to look at the color. You know, it's so bold. So you get like these long breaks where you're not thinking. You know, your brain's not telling you good things or bad things. It's just looking at the color, and you know what to do. It's innate. People just start to know what kind of colors to lay down next to each other, and it becomes very satisfying. And everyone will tell you they feel better when they leave. It's a little bit of like a great addiction. I can't figure out anything bad about it. So it's been such a good experience for me and my children and my family, friends, and now sharing it with everybody has probably been one of my best experiences.
BrightlyTwistedTieDye.com is their website for more information. BrightlyTwistedTieDye.com. We're talking with Tammy Stemas. She is the founder and co-owner of Brightly Twisted and Detroit Dye House, joining us on the Megacast. We have a couple more minutes with you, Tammy, before we need to say goodbye today. Anything else we haven't discussed about Detroit Dye House and Brightly Twisted that we would like our audience to know?
Well, I think the other thing we learned during the pandemic, it's a question I didn't get to fully answer because I jumped probably to another subject, but we also take it on the road. So we can pack up everything we do. We pretty much bring some beautiful colors, and we can come to you. So like we've gone to Wayne State, and we do a bunch of organizations out there. We work with many of their students, or we go out to West Bloomfield. We've done a couple mitzvahs. We've done birthday parties, and it's been really great. So we can come to you too. I guess I wanted to let you guys know that part. But I would love to have you come in, and I certainly would invite you as well. Please.
Well, we appreciate that. We'll have to try that sometime. Come on down and enjoy Detroit Dye House in Corktown. You can find more information on BrightlyTwistedTieDye.com. Tammy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was nice to talk to you.
Appreciate it. BrightlyTwistedTieDye.com is their website. That is going to do it for this Monday edition of the Megacast. As always, you can keep up to date with us by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast. There you'll find all of our programs on demand, full episodes, and each individual interview, so you can watch the Megacast on your time and at your pace. You can also learn more about all the partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every single day on our program, live and live to tape, and find all about their original programming beyond the 1 hour a day, 5 days a week that they join us on the Megacast. civiccentertv.com/megacast is the website for all of that. You can also go to our local news page to keep up to date on everything happening across the state of Michigan on the COVID-19 front and more, with articles from journalistic outlets all across the state of Michigan. Click on those links, read the articles in full. They're supporting materials. You can also read other materials from those publications all day, every day. And while you're on their website, if you have the means to do so, we highly encourage you to subscribe to those publications and support journalism in your local area. You can also find on our local news page links at the top of the page to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 specific web pages. You keep up to date on all of that information as it continues to change and come in at a variety of paces over time. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the Megacast, as well as our crew, Calvin Brown at Master Control, and of course, the king of television, as we call him, Larry Nyland, our producer. That's it for Monday's edition of the Megacast. We'll return tomorrow with a new episode.